Oh, this is anything in the universe, and we get pickle pops.
Going to self-terminate. He's going to self-terminate.
You can't self-terminate.
Going to self-terminate.
Oh, my cat.
Oh!
Brain freeze is coming. It's here. Welcome to Awesome Movie Twaddling.
To twaddle, to talk foolishly, create foolish, trivial, or idle talk or chatter.
We get together, we talk about films and just general filmmaking, and we break down storytelling elements from some of our favorite movies, and we just twaddle. My name is Adolfo. I'm an independent filmmaker, director, writer, a VFX artist. Sometimes you can see me being clotheslined by death, or getting eaten by Gulcher demons from the 1800s.
Hi, I'm JP. I'm an actor, writer, producer, and you could probably see me in movies where I became a blueberry pie, and I am ready to get to the chopper!
And I'm Sunzar Bellows. I'm a photographer, and I've been making films with Adolfo since pretty much we were kids.
Record. It's still recording. All right. Man. Gotta focus. Go. Man. Wait. Okay. Man. What are you doing? Focus. Okay, there you go.
Notice the gray beard? At the end of every episode, we bust out the MTB as well. What's the MTB? The mystery twaddle box.
Just so happen to have a chance cube here, huh? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna roll this chance cube. There's a black side, there's a silver side. Each one of us is gonna roll it. Whoever wins the roll gets to open the mystery twaddle box. What is in the mystery twaddle box, you might ask? It is the mysteries of the universe. Whoever gets to win gets to do the thing inside the box.
Today's episode is sponsored by Vintage Cups from my childhood. This is my sippy cup when I was a child, and don't ask me why. This one here is my father's. He made this when he was about 9 or 10 years old. He engraved his nickname TT on the bottom of that, so that's a TT cup from my dad. And last but not least, we have a glass blown from my dad's mouth in your hand. He used to be a glass blower. There you go. That's his glass blown cup. So, welcome. We're going to talk about Terminator Dark Fate. Hence, action figure Arnold. I got what I wanted to get out of it only because when I think about a Terminator movie, I think, well, do you have Arnold in it? Okay. Action sequences of a chase over and over and over? Yeah. Do I have big stunts? Do I have big explosions? Do I have VFX? Yes. Okay. I think that's really all I expected from it. What do you think?
Personally, I was hoping for something a little bit more with Tim Miller at the helm. I after coming off of the heels of Deadpool, in giving that superhero franchise a hard R, I was hoping that this movie would be that saving grace for the Terminator franchise. And then you even had the backing of James Cameron. He produced it. I know that he helped write one of the scenes in the movie. He was the one who made the phone call to Linda Hamilton to get her onto the movie. And I feel like it had all of the elements to make that happen. For me, the movie was, there were moments in it that were really good. I loved when Arnold came into the picture. That as soon as he came in, it was like, oh, man, this is great that you're now in this movie. He comes in about halfway through, so no spoilers, but at the same time, just know that you're only getting a movie with half Arnold in it. But yeah, I mean, overall, like the effects, what they did with the Rev 9, the actor who played the Rev 9, and then the character Grace, I thought that was all very interesting. I really wanted to see something, if they were going to kill off John Connor, and again, we're talking about spoilers, and I'm sorry, but this happens in the first 5 minutes of the movie. If they're going to kill off John Connor, I really wanted them to commit to a very new storyline, whereas I felt like we got a very similar storyline that we've already seen before in other Terminator movies, but now with a female protagonist. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I felt like she could have paved her own way instead of basically just getting another John Connor story.
So again, I liked this movie. I loved a lot of the elements that I've seen in the other movies before. Obviously, you're going in there expecting a reboot version of this, but you're talking about a franchise that's been around for almost 30 or probably 30 plus years. I mean, how do you reinvent it unless you can still bring it to what you originally expect from it? But how do you reinvent it with other characters? So I understand why they were going the route they went, but I felt like a part that I wish they would have done better is just how they took John out at the beginning. I mean, they tried to get to A to Z too quickly, and there's no dialogue, maybe because of the special effects that was involved with it. But I mean, to have John just go through this most spectacular sequel of all time adventure, to go in the Bahamas and just kind of sit back, and they're just like, "Hey, I'm hitting on you at the bar. I want a little drink," and then turns around, "Mom," and then she's like, "Oh, I just wish that, you know," and then she missed it, and then he just shoots him and falls down, and then she tries to attack him, and he like goes, "Well, I'm just throwing you down. I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna walk into where? I'm gonna walk into the ocean, and then kind of like live for 22 more years." Like, what does he do? Where does he go? I'm just not a fan of. Oh yeah, by the way, there was another one that was sent. We don't even talk about that happened during 2. When Skynet was a thing. They sent 3 Terminators back, pretty much. The fact that we're just banking on this one we never talk about that just happened to be there. We don't know when he came from. They just don't know how he found him. It was just too like. I just wish they would have just something of the events of 2 maybe articulated into 3 and trickling over is why he passed away. Just so it makes it seem like that was a part of a story that continues. Otherwise, they just kind of banked a lot on, you thought we're going this way, huh? Which, if you're living in a cave watching these movies and you're like, hey, watch these franchises, and you're like, oh, cool, and you plot them all in one at a time, you're going to a cohesive story, and then you have this one, and it's like, no one's going to tell you.
It's debatable if Genesis is a cohesive story.
But it was still, it was self-aware that the timelines changed, haha. This one's like, just forget about it, but no one says that. You just, if you're trying to watch it, you're going to be like, what? What happened?
And then just other things too that they kind of piggybacked off of, like if you've seen Salvation, the Terminator that was in that movie was also part human, so they took those elements and put it into this movie as the Grace character.
Yeah, so Sam Worthington was the Grace character in this movie. The T-1000 / the Terminator, the girl Terminator in Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, was the Rev 9 kind of separating himself, was the unique element that I did appreciate. I liked it, but he's almost too much. To me, that's like, it's great. You got to get really clever because he is impossible to kill. You got 2 Terminators coming at you all the time, and it's one's liquid. I mean, you could just it's pretty difficult. The guy is going to get you pretty quickly.
That's the product of having that many movies though in your franchise at that point, because you have to keep raising the stakes.
This Terminator 3, I'm going to call it Terminator 3, okay? Because it's basically Terminator 3 versus Terminator 3. Which one do you like? In my opinion.
If you're talking about Terminator 3.3, then I would say this 3.3 was better than the other 33.5. Which was, you're talking about Rise of Machines?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Naked Gun.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, I think this is the problem. They talk about not talking about movies that they're resetting timelines and.
It's hard not to if you've seen it, because there's something that the previous Terminator 3 gave you, and that was the actual event of Judgment Day. Okay? When I remember when I saw that in the theater, that was the payoff for me that I needed. No matter how I felt about the movie from that point, or from that point behind, it basically showed me what I've been waiting to see in the other 2 films. Not really waiting to see, but it was a myth. And because we had already had 2 other films that got us to a point where it's just like, oh, didn't happen. Oh, didn't happen. Well, hello, it happened in the old Terminator 3. So, preference-wise, I kind of liked that element there in terms of the plot. But what this movie did bring for me personally that I enjoyed a lot was the dynamic duo and the chemistry between Linda Hamilton and Arnold when they were back together again.
You know, when he first comes, I actually saw, like, it took me a couple times. When he opens the door and he's got a big scar on his cheek, I was like, so what's up with him? Why? Did you guys notice the scar on his face?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Do you guys know what it's from?
No.
So when the very beginning of the movie, when we see John Parrish, she shoots at him and he's turning and bullets ricochet off and shoot him in the cheek while he turns around.
I have to rewatch that.
I had to see it 3 different times, and one of the times like that's where that scar is, because he has a big kind of scar and it's like 22 years later or whatever type of scar, but it's so subtle and odd that they put that in the beginning when he assassinates Edward Furlong, and she shoots at him to kind of get that last "no, my son," and he just goes pew pew, and the skin kind of comes off, and you're like, it's just so weird and subtle. You miss it. You don't even know it happened. He just comes with a big scar, and you're like, why do you have a scar?
It's so funny that you say that, because I just watched it for this, but as I was watching it, I was paying so much attention to their faces because of how good the beginning looks. Yeah. Like, you literally, if you watched T2 and then watched this, you would think that they had this movie planned because of how good that de-aging looks. They took so many liberties in terms of story, what they were going to do with this. And then I guess that's why, like, that setup is so impactful, and then just the rest of it just felt like the same that we've seen before in terms of story. And that's why I was so hopeful, like, oh, we're gonna get this like new interesting.
And that's why I think I like the elements that I enjoy, like I said, is that
the big booms.
So yeah, I get the chase. There's always a truck, and I love to watch the way that a character, how do they get away from this thing? This thing is like, it's like the T-1000 and then the Terminator from Part 3, the Rise of Machines. It's like both those characters. You made it so cool. How are they going to get away from it? So I like to watch how creative the writers can get to how they actually get away every time. But then when they brought, I like that they brought in Linda Hamilton. That's fine. I did feel like I wish they would have had her not come in so she's a little older, but like she's too good, and she just knows how to. She handles things like it's nothing. Like, she has the rocket launcher. She just goes boom, shoosh. And he gets the gun, just like it's just like you have to. I understand. Maybe we're just going on. This is the different demographic we're looking at. It's she's cool. Like, this is a cool, great BA element here of this woman. But I just wish she would have been a little bit more grounded and more realistic. And she's like, I'll be back. Throw up. She's like, I've killed these guys a billion times before, but how?
Like Grace, like the whole time, she's the one from the future, right? You're used to the dynamic of the Terminator being like, we can't outrun it, we can't kill it, we have to run, and he's always the level-headed one, right? Whereas Grace, because she was human, she has this like, she's always had this like this like sense of urgency and these emotions, right? So then Linda Hamilton takes the place of that, specifically in the first half of this movie. And then once Arnold comes along, then Linda Hamilton, and this is what I liked about the characters once you implemented Arnold into the picture, then Linda Hamilton, even though she hates Carl, she even says, I'm never going to effing call you that, right? And then at the end, what does she do when he's in trouble? She goes, Carl, get up! Yeah. So we see her, exactly what you're saying, but she evolves into that. Once she realizes that Danny is important. Danny is basically John.
In the helicopter, when Danny is like, all for one, you know what I mean, kind of approach, Grace starts scolding her down pretty hard. And then, you kind of see, they start alluding by the way they position the cameras that, Linda Hamilton's like taking it in, and then Linda Hamilton just says, you know what, she's right. And so she does the same thing in a smaller way with the Grace character. And I think that is interesting because, like you pointed out, okay, they're walking into this, with Linda Hamilton, with Sarah Connor, and they're just over-establishing that she's this BA character. Yeah. But still, at the same time, she's learning, she's adapting, she's being reasonable, and like you said, she kind of takes a second place, second place with being level-headed and being like voice of reason. Mm-hmm. And there's the scene where Arnold's getting ready to take off and leave his family and all that stuff, and the glasses. He sees them, his old glasses. I assume they're his old glasses.
Yeah.
Well,
He's about to
probably
put
not.
him- he's about to
He's
put 'em
about
on.
to. And how many times did they tease either a tagline or something like that and say, yeah, you're going to get it, you're going to get it. No, you're not, because we're not that.
Well, I think they could have done it again. I'm fine with what they did, I guess, but I think they still could have done it differently. They still could have. He could have walked by it and maybe just was like, or whatever. But he wanted to make sure to.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well,
I don't know.
And that's kind
it's
of
just kind of that. You know,
it's
you either like it or you
ode to
don't.
the old franchise. It's like it's classy. It's like, it's there. We acknowledge it. We acknowledge the history, but it's almost defiant in some of those scenes.
Like, I feel like there were so many like great action sequences and all of that, but like in terms of story, like it was plagued by like not committing. That not grabbing those sunglasses and putting them on. That's not committing to the iconography. Killing John Connor off just to introduce a female John Connor is not committing to a new Terminator franchise or reinvigorating the franchise. It's basically just saying, hey, same thing with a girl.
Yeah.
And him saying, I won't be back, right? I mean, I like that they did it during that moment because it's like he's telling his family that he's not going to be back, which is a pretty emotional element there, but I thought it was kind of cool. Again, they should have dove more into that. I would have loved to see more about what that family was about, what was happening there.
I would have loved to seen that.
Give me about 5 more minutes of that would have been great. The dog element, I was mentioning it earlier, the Wolfie. So there's a German Shepherd type looking dog in almost all these movies, at least the 3. And they always bark at the Terminators. They hate Terminators. They can sense Terminators and all that stuff. But in this movie, he's like, they're showing it for sure that he's just buddies with it. So it shows some type of whatever message they're trying to say, that he is human now and he's somehow become a different Terminator than you know of. He's adapted to society or humankind and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is an example of being franchise fatigued, and this is the result. I know that I think they had good, somewhat respectable reviews, but not from the box office. So I feel like there's some reasons why. I mean, it is what it is. I feel like I got what I was looking for and I was hoping to get.
Yeah, I guess I could get on board with that. Like, if the other ones weren't a thing, if Genesis hadn't come out
only 2 years,
2 or 3 years ago, whatever it was, right? Then I could get behind that, because the franchise fatigue really played a heavy hand here, and the elements, the action elements are all there. The Rev 9 was fantastic. Arnold was amazing as always. And also, just to throw this out there, Arnold had open heart surgery like right before this movie, and then was on set like 3 months later doing all of these things, doing
and
a lot of his own stunts, and looking the way that he did. So pretty amazing that can still happen, that he's in that great a shape. So I mean, just that and just nostalgia. I mean, it's a popcorn flick, really really fun movie to watch.
Why couldn't they, when you think about it, why couldn't they just hired Edward Furlong, because he's in the credits? Why couldn't they just had him be what he is now and have him get assassinated now instead of being the back? I mean, obviously the story element, they wanted her to be this very angry woman for 22 years. That was just the way they took the story. But why couldn't they just use him, that they lived a good life for 22 years or whatever, and then they assassinate him, and he kind of gets a little bit more of
I know the answer to that.
Go ahead.
Arnold. If Arnold would have come to the present day, they wouldn't have had a good way to explain why he was so old.
For John.
So now a lot of these movies are being written around his age. They did the same thing with Genesis, where when they went to the future, and it was like 9-10 years later, they had to explain that his skin and his hair aged over that time. So they did the same thing with Genesis.
They did an interesting sacrifice there, because I think you could have built a movie around real time. And still just, if you're just going to go ahead and say, yeah, there's not a Terminator just sent back, he's been around and he assassinated you guys. They could have easily just said, yeah, there was not a Terminator sent back. He's been trying to find you forever, and he fell in a hole, and he's been there for 22 years. He's now coming out, and he's old. I mean, they could have done anything to be able to, where you feel a little bit more justified believing that this could happen, and not feeling so, you just killed a child, and I liked the child that was in the other movie.
That whole, well, my mission is over thing. I know that there's other stories and stuff out there where it's like, I have no purpose now. Yeah. Where they didn't allow that. And that's interesting to do, because that's a machine.
Man, it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah, it should just shut down. If anything, that's the one thing that should shut down.
He should have just assassinated him in the Bahamas and just stood there and just went, and then, but again, That would be boring. So with that, that's our final thoughts for Terminator Dark Fate.
Was it?
It was a long conclusion, but we did get there. If you want to see any of our crazy adventures or films that we make, you can go head on to n-ragemedia.com, and we have everything posted there.
My handle is actor versus realtor. That's all one word. That's actor vs realtor.
Sunzar, SUN_CZAR.
And go ahead, subscribe if you like. You can see more content. But now it's time for the MTB, the mystery twaddle box.
Okay, time to roll the dice, huh? Okay. Pick your, pick the, it's gonna be between you two guys. Sunzar, pick it. What do you got? Black or silver?
Silver.
Black. Okay, it's gonna be me and Adolfo. Adolfo, pick it. Black or silver?
Black is midnight. So what does that mean?
You.
Oh, my lucky day. Twaddle box, come now, please.
God, does it have to come out that way? It smells.
The Terminator franchise is like a popsicle. They all have different flavors that some will either like or not like, but nonetheless are all popsicles ready to be enjoyed at your own leisure. Choose your flavor and enjoy. Today's flavor is pickle juice. You guys fan of pickle pops? No? Okay, well, you're in luck. The MTV box says, pickle pops all around!
Get to the pickle poppa. I just couldn't put that poppa down. Sorry, I ate one. Have fun.
Here you go. Sorry, I only had two. So what these are they are pickle juice dipped in the fridge, and you call them pickle pops. This is legit. To quit. You ready? Whoa, watch out, buddy.
Whoa.
It's like a push pop.
Push pop.
Okay, so let's try it.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wait, we shouldn't cheers. Social distance, please.
Yes.
Okay, ready? Let's take a bite of some pickle pop.
Oh, this is anything in the universe, and we get pickle pops.
So what's interesting about a pickle pop is it's poured directly from a pickle jar and frozen, obviously. What are we tasting here? Is it the salt or is it the vinegar? Or what do you how do you make pickles out of cucumbers, right? Is that what I'm understanding here?
It tastes like a frozen pickle.
So it's
really concentrated.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it just me or is it hot?
It's like weird, yeah. It's cold, but then it's warm at the same time.
Due to time constraints, because we only have so much time, one last bite for the road.
Ugh. You're one ugly motherfucker.
Going to self-terminate. He's going to self-terminate.
You can't self-terminate.
Going to self-terminate.
Oh, my cat!
Oh!
Brain freeze is coming! It's here! Brain freeze is here.
It's weird because it's cold, but you're right. It's like hot. It's weird.
Had it. Did it.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm good.
Now for some beans.
If you like the video that you just watched, feel free to go ahead and click the area above to watch more of our videos. If you'd like to subscribe, go ahead and click the area below, and you'll be able to subscribe. And if you would like to comment, Adam would be more than happy to respond to you. Nowhere close. Nowhere close.
Well, I give you just like little sprinkles. You just go, hey.